Duality and separation have never truly been experienced, and realizing that is absolutely essential. A lot of times we want to overcome this experience of separation, this sense of there being a duality. The assumption is that if we do that, if we get rid of this experience of duality, then we will finally be at peace. And of course, the reasoning behind this assumption isn't really that silly. I mean, if you think about it, if duality really existed in any real sense, then of course, getting over that, seeing through that, or dissolving that would be very important. Because by nature, if duality were real, and you would be this separate subject which is somehow at the center of your experience, then of course the implications of that are tremendous. If you really exist as such a subject, then of course all the suffering which you experience really rests on that very existence. So quite naturally, when we believe duality is real, we want to overcome that experience. We don't want to have it. We want this experience of non-duality. But before we invest all this energy and seeking and thinking and practicing in order to experience non-duality, let's just think about whether we have ever actually truly experienced duality in the first place. I mean, think about this. What is the experience of duality? Don't just refer to your belief of what it is, but think about it in terms of your actual experience. Because if duality is real, it has to be real in your experience, right? So where and when do you experience duality? Of course, we have this tendency to interpret our experience in a way which implies duality. In a very basic way, for example, we have this description, this interpretation of me being here and being aware of my experience out there as this separate subject of experience. But is that ever experienced? I mean, take the experience of seeing, for example. It's of course possible to look out at an object and have this idea that somehow this object exists as an external experience which I am perceiving as the separate subject. But what about the experience of seeing an object implies duality, implies there being a separate subject? All there is the seeing. And the seeing is experiencing itself. A separate subject never comes into play here. It's only ever imagined, interpreted into existence. Of course, it's possible to have thoughts which imply duality. I can really think of myself as a separately existing entity, and I can think of the world as really this independently, objectively existing world. But me thinking about it in this way, and even me believing it to exist in this way, doesn't make it real. What's real in your experience? That is the thing to notice. That's what you have to realize. And of course, this belief in there being a subject, an ego, which we somehow need to overcome, can be quite strong. It doesn't just consist of these verbal interpretations. There's also a tremendous amount of emotional investment in this belief of separation. And so our interpretations mixed with our emotional lives really give this idea of there being duality and separation quite a bit of life. It can make it seem real, but if we actually ever notice what our experience is like, we immediately see that there's just no substance to this belief. A thought never creates duality. An emotion never creates duality. No feeling, no way of perceiving ever creates duality. It's only ever an interpretation which arises in experience. If we become hyper-fixated on this interpretation, then of course it could seem like this is what reality really is. But the remedy to this predicament is really quite simple. Just notice what your experience is actually like. And immediately this belief of duality is disproven. There never has been a separate observer. There never have been independent, limited objects. No entities ever came into existence. There only ever has been this unbounded, limitless, transcendental, indefinable being. Only ever this taking the shape of all these experiences, but never departing from itself, never becoming anything other than itself. It's only ever this. And duality never occurred. If anything remains unclear, feel free to write in the comments. And if you want to get in touch with me directly, you can do that through my website, which I have recently launched. I will put the link to that website in the comments and in the video description. On this website, I offer counseling, coaching, and different courses. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you right here next time.